đã nhận được văn bản. Đây là nội dung bạn cung cấp, được giữ nguyên chính xác như yêu cầu. George was a humble incense seller living in a small town. He ran a tiny shop where he poured all his heart into selling incense sticks. Each bundle was carefully selected, gently fragrant, and the shop was meticulously decorated. George always greeted customers with warmth and politeness. Thanks to his sincerity and attention to every detail, the shop gradually attracted attention. Within a few weeks, customer visits significantly increased and sales improved. To attract more people, George put up a sign outside that read, "Fragrant incense sticks available in our shop." The sign reflected his voice and personality, simple but full of goodwill. The sweet scent of success began to spread, and George felt proud and happy with what he had built. But then, a small change from a stranger began to gradually blur his voice. One day, a well-dressed man visited the shop, looked at the sign, and said, "The word fragrant is unnecessary. Incense is naturally fragrant." George hesitated but agreed to remove the word, not wanting to cause conflict. A few days later, another man, wearing glasses and speaking authoritatively, entered and commented, "Why write in our shop? It's already obvious that it's sold here." Again, George complied and removed that part too. Then a third person came, suggesting that available was also redundant. If the store was open, it meant products were being sold. Piece by piece, George erased each word on the sign following others' opinions. Eventually, someone told him there was no need for a sign at all since everyone already knew it was an incense shop. Worried and lacking confidence, George took down the sign completely. He didn't realize that this very decision began to erase his image and value, not just in the eyes of his customers, but also in his own heart. Time passed, and George's shop became strangely quiet. No more customers, no more lively conversations. Only the smell of mildew mixed with confusion lingered in the air. George, once upright with a confident smile, now sat silently on his wooden chair, eyes blankly staring at the empty space where the sign used to be. One day, an old friend happened to walk by. Seeing the gloomy scene, he stepped inside and asked what had happened. After hearing George recount everything, the friend shouted in anger, "Have you lost your mind? You let others erase your identity without even realizing it. That sign was your voice, it was the soul of your shop, and you stayed silent while they stripped it away." Those words struck George like a wake-up call. The next morning, he repainted the sign with his own hands, just like it had been, "Fragrant incense sticks available in our shop." The same old words, but this time, it was the return of identity. Customers slowly started coming back. Steadily, they returned, familiar faces and new ones alike. But the biggest change wasn't in revenue, it was in George himself. This time, he no longer rushed to follow every suggestion. He listened, but he distinguished between what suited him and what didn't. George had learned a vital lesson. In life, the shop is your journey, and the sign is your voice, your values, your dreams, and your individuality. If you constantly seek approval from others, you will gradually lose pieces of yourself without even noticing. Advice is valuable, but not all advice fits you. If you let fear lead the way, you'll live a life defined by others. Now, George understood. Only when you dare to hold the brush yourself can you paint your own story. And the world only truly remembers those who dare to live authentically, with honesty, determination, and no need to fit into any mold. George's story is a powerful reminder of the value of personal identity in our journey through life. Each person's life is like a shop where we display our beliefs, dreams, and individuality, and the sign at the front is our voice, telling the world who we are. But if fear and self-doubt take over, we may easily hand the brush to others, letting them rewrite or even erase our true selves. Many of us live under the gaze of others, trading our own identity for approval, praise, or just to fit in. But the price is high. Parts of our true selves are shaved away. Our beliefs slowly fade. One day, we wake up and realize we're living a life others wanted, not the one we truly chose. Advice is helpful, but not all advice is right for you. Learn to filter it and trust yourself. Be brave enough to hold on to what makes you different, because that is your strength. Be the one who writes your own story. Don't let others write it for you. The world always remembers those who dare to be real, dare to be different, and dare to be themselves. The deep lesson from George's story isn't just about keeping a sign. It's about the courage to protect personal identity in a world full of overwhelming opinions. Life is filled with voices, feedback, and judgments, sometimes from loved ones, friends, or total strangers. If you're not grounded, pieces of who you are will be trimmed away to fit into others' expectations. And in the end, you'll become a faded version of yourself. Not wrong, but nothing special either. The truth is, you can't please everyone. Approval is not the measure of self-worth. True value lies in daring to maintain your voice, even when it's not applauded. George once lost that voice out of fear of judgment, but he reclaimed it with clarity and courage. Since then, he lived differently, not as someone who blindly follows advice, but as someone who chooses, filters, and takes responsibility for his own path. You can too. Be brave enough to be yourself, because no one else can write your life story as clearly and truthfully as you can. George's story ends with a message of immense strength. Trust yourself and have the courage to live your truth. In a world full of noise and pressure to conform, holding on to your identity is the most precious thing you can do. We often fear judgment and rejection, and so we fall into the trap of living by others' expectations. But when we do that, we begin to lose our inner voice and the things that make us unique. The truth is, if you don't make your own decisions, someone else will. If you don't write your own story, your life will just be a side chapter in someone else's book. Advice, opinions, and feedback all have value, but no one knows you better than yourself. So listen to yourself more. Boldly pick up the brush and paint your story in your own colors, shapes, and dreams. Because the world truly remembers those who dare to live authentically and firmly, who are unafraid of being different, unafraid of being wrong, and who never lose themselves in the crowd. Oh, if George's story made you pause for a moment, perhaps it touched something deep within you. We've all had moments of doubt, times when we were torn between many voices, times when we quietly erased part of ourselves just to be accepted. But the scariest thing isn't being rejected by others, it's when you start rejecting yourself. We often think, I'll live true to myself, but later. And then, day by day, we live a life where the soul grows silent. But it is those who dare to step out, who dare to trust their own identity, who dare to speak with their own voice amidst all the noise. They are the ones who change the world. So if this story feels like it said something you've never dared to express, maybe you were meant not just to listen, but to act. Start small. Write your own sign with what you truly believe in, love, and long for. Don't just follow a channel, follow a journey back to your true self.